Already some excitement for the big boats who are on the starting line. J105s are off the line next, and this time the pin end looks strong. And Monkey Dust goes back. Florida Night Series, and as they cross to take the gun, it's barrage.
Welcome back to the Annapolis Yacht Club Wednesday Night Race Series. I'm Dave Gandell from T2P TV, coming to you from the Boatyard Bar and Grill Film Boat. What an absolutely perfect evening here on the Severn River. A rare spinnaker start and a nice northwesterly breeze. It's blowing about 10 to 12 knots here in the river. Promises to be closer to 15 once we get out into the bay. We're going to head over and have a look at the racing this evening. There's only 2 more Wednesdays left after this for racing. I'm sure all the sailors are very excited tonight. About 15 seconds before the night's first start, spinnakers are up on deck, and it is a big puff here as the sun is out. Probably about a 11 knot puff or so. I think this breeze is going to build as they make their way out into the bay. Less than 5 seconds. There's the gun. Maybe have a port starboard situations here. Ramrod on port, legging out in front of the starboard tackers down the line. In the meantime, Mumbles, who's leading their class, nice and clean here on starboard, up towards the committee boat. The first leg is a very long run all the way out to R2. Typically, it's the opposite. They go upwind to R2 in this sort of velocity of breeze, but today with it out of the northwest, it's a downwind start. This race course has ended up almost perfectly square. I think they're going to have an even amount of time on the port jibe and on the starboard jibe as they make their way out of the river into the bay towards red number 2. Back in the starting area, the second classes of the day obviously have the advantage of having gone to school on the first. There's 1 minute to go. You can see the bulk of the classes here are on starboard, running down the line with their poles up, ready for the set. With about 10 seconds to the gun, the bulk here are on starboard, getting set to cross. 2, 1, there's the gun, and they're off. So this first starboard angle on out of the river is extended. It looks like it's all the way to Lake Ogleton for the class ahead of us. So as a result, folks are trying to clear their air as they come off the line here. I see a lot of folks sailing angles very tight to try to get clear, especially airmail. People are trying to get up and above airmail if possible, and now airmail's making their own move. So while the boats to weather are jockeying for lanes, the crew aboard Dakota Girl looks calm, cool, and collected. Very patient, very happy with where they are. We'll see how that pays out. Just to weather, class leader Aunt Jean, a force out here for many years. Looks like the shackle broke on their spinnaker sheet. They put a jib up to blanket the kite, lowered it a bit, and it looks like the foredeck crew is working to get a new sheet attached to it. So that's the reason why the Aunt Jean crew has a closet full of silverware. They lost the shackle on the spinnaker, raised the jib to blanket it, reattach the shackle, and boom, boom, lickety-split, they're back in action and cranking out the river. Back in the starting area, we've caught up with more than a dozen J105s. Their gun has just sounded and the kites go up. So back with the the J35s off the mouth of Lake Ogleton. One thing to be aware of today is it's been blowing out of the northwest for about 20 hours. And as a result, there was no high tide today. The water's all drained out of the bay. It's extraordinarily low water. We've already seen one boat bump. So a mark that the fleet had to honor off the mouth of Lake Ogleton has taken a lot of the tactics out of this race, unfortunately. It's just sort of a drag race now out to R2. Poles forward, crews settled in, and about a 2-mile sail left. And with the J105 class, the calendar says August, but it feels more like late September with this northwesterly breeze. So the characteristics, flat water, funneled out of the river here. The breeze is being funneled out of the river. These 105s are coming downwind in a very nice puff, just rolling through the flat water. Now what we're seeing ahead is characteristic of this breeze direction. The wind sort of lightens up as you get out into the bay. So the funnel at the mouth of the river accelerates to the northwest, and then it dies as you get out into the bay a bit. In the meantime, these J105s are thriving in the breeze. Next wave making their way out to the bay, also riding out in a very nice puff. The Q of QA2 active here. The puffs are spotty as you make it out your way out into the bay, and there's a jibe. Caught up with the leaders of the Etchells class is Caramba, Jose Fuentes. Second around, Ed Holt and Special Ed. So as usual, these Etchells are tightly packed here. This is some excellent one design racing. We're seeing 5 boats arrive at this turning mark in tandem, less than a minute behind the leader. So what a fun Wednesday evening for these guys. Next class making their way around the mark, and again, they're arriving quite overlapped. It was a little bit of a drag race out here, not a lot of tactical options. So as a result, we're seeing a lot of overlap boats, especially in the one design classes. The Etchells a moment ago, and now the J30s. So plenty of action, plenty of intensity here in the J30 class. They came down in a big puff, a lot of late takedowns. I think that the mark got a lot closer there very quickly at the end in this huge puff. Add in 6 or 7 boats rounding overlap, and you've got quite a chaotic scene. Back in the river, we've caught up with Ramrod, where the crew's working hard. So as Ramrod makes their way into the harbor, the Etchells class, we've seen a turnaround here. Ed Holt has passed Jose Fuentes, and now they're battling their way into the creek. Catching up with the J35 class, which we've been tracking all night, Beatrice Mowry at the helm of Dakota Girl. This crew is looking calm, cool, and collected. So the lead J35s battle it out. Meanwhile, making their way into the harbor, a bunch of J30s and a bunch of perf boats. It is a spectacular scene. out in front of the J35s, the crew of Aunt Jean, feeling pretty relaxed and pretty comfortable. They've had a great night out on the bay. And a few moments later, the crew of Aunt Jean crosses the finish line, the first J35 of the night. What a great race by those guys. We saw them overcome an open spinnaker shackle at the start. They were very deep at that point. They came back and took line honors. So in a beautiful northwesterly breeze, the Annapolis Yacht Club Wednesday night race fleet enjoyed perfect conditions here. Just 2 more races left this season. Tonight was a really memorable one. On behalf of T2P TV and the Annapolis Yacht Club, I'm Dave Gundel. Thanks for watching.
The Eastport Yacht Center on Back Creek, where the Severn meets the bay, is the perfect location for all your marine needs. It's a complete full-service marina with new floating docks and bathhouse. For more information, visit www.eastportyachtcenter.com.